Administration. Let me welcome my colleagues. Abulu is joined by Tevetia.
Abechi, good morning. Abechi, good morning, and good morning, dear listener. Quickly, Abechi, let me also let Nigerians know that fuel queues have returned to Abuja. Motorists in Abuja from last night have been having long queues, and I don't know what the issue is. The government has not come out to explain. We expect an explanation before the end of today, so that people will not be engaging in panic buying. Children are resuming school very late because their parents are queuing to buy fuel. Abechi, well, 18 political parties have their governorship candidates list released, and we hope to see fire in the campaigns already, because it's all for the grabs. The seats are all for the grabs. We no longer have two main political parties, as it were. As Teve will say, we have a 3.5 horse race now. The PDP, the APC, Labour Party, NNPP, and we hope to see a fight to finish when campaign starts ahead of 2023 general elections. Amechi, the very touchy issue of ASU is back on our screens, back on the front page of the newspapers. Yesterday, I witnessed how Ngige, he didn't issue certificates to those two new registered bodies. He only gave them what he called statement of results in schools. He only gave them the papers of the way which they signed that they've been registered, but certificate have not been issued to them. And he gave them document of the 2004 Trade Union Dispute Act booklet for them to study. Amechi, one would say the government is applying what they call divide and rule tactics in handling the issue of ASU. And if you look at it, you see that the Nigerian Union of Teachers was the umbrella body of all teachers in Nigeria before, and ASU created this. It came out.
By the way, it is World Teachers Day today.
Yeah, today is World Teachers Day. Yes, if you know how to read, you thank your teacher. If you don't, you look for your teacher. And so the Nigerian Union of Teachers was the umbrella body of teachers in Nigeria until ASU broke away. And you have polytechnic academic staff, you have college of academic staff, and you also have academic staff union of research institutions that are also there. So the minister yesterday said we're going to have academic staff union of law teachers. We're going to have academic law teachers. Engineers have applied to have their own. You have education. You have PhD teachers have applied. So, well, ASU is going to be divided, so as it were.
Do you call it divide and rule or liberalization, restructuring?
Liberalization, yes, it's also good to use that word, liberalization. Amechi, but I must say, will all this solve the problem? I've said here before that you don't throw away the baby with the bathwater. So what the government is doing, indirectly or maybe directly, some people will say, is to throw away ASU away with its own problem.
What does the Trade Union Act say? Does it give monopoly?
Yes, the Trade Union Act does not give monopoly. It gives the minister power to regroup unions who have either gone, who are not operating as the law stipulates, or who have gone foul of the law. So the minister regrouped the Nigerian Union of Pensioners.
What do you mean by regroup?
Regrouping means you create another group from the existing group. Like what he did, what the minister did in 2020 with the Nigerian Union of Pensioners. When they have internal squabbles, the government now created Contributory Pensioners Union. Then you now have the Nigerian Union of Pensioners, which now handle the defined pensioners. Those in the defined pensioners are those that are retired before 2004 law was made.
So what the minister did yesterday was legal?
Yes, according to the Trade Union Act, is legal. But some persons will go to the Constitution, because the Constitution is supersedes any law that exists in the country. That if you have an existing law, I think Section 60 of the Constitution, if you have an existing law, existing body covering workers in a particular group, you don't need to regroup them. It will go contrary to the provisions of the law.
But the Constitution guarantees freedom of association.
Very well.
And it supersedes every other provision in the Constitution.
In the Constitution. So we hope to see how ASU takes this, and I think ahead that the appeal court will be receiving the ASU stay of execution today.
We'll be hearing the application.
So we hope to see how that unfolds. But be that as it is, or as it were, we only pray for Nigeria's education not to crumble, not to keep dwindling as it is already.
Amiche, good morning to you. Good morning, listener. Maybe I might just take a different position from what Abulu is saying. And you understand him. The union thing is his blood, so he would but I'm also a comrade. And this morning, I would make bold to congratulate Konwa
and NAMDA.
Congress of
Nigerian University Academics.
Then
the other one
Medical
is
and Dental.
Nigeria Association of Medical and Dental Academics.
Academics.
You know very well that is a specialized sector already, which means everybody in medicine, dental care are automatically
doctors and dentists.
They are automatically members of
the
that.
other ones, if you choose to belong.
Yes, and so I congratulate them on their formal registration. Nobody, I mean, just like you observed, nobody has come up to say they did not meet the conditions or the federal government has violated any law in their registration. On this platform, we promote democracy, and democracy is about pluralism, as it were. And if any persons, by virtue of right of association, want such registration and they've met the conditions, there's nothing wrong with the federal government registering them, as it were. The only thing, perhaps, would be the timing of the registration. That is what I personally have issues with. Perhaps the federal government would have waited until this ASU issue is over. Then you can now formally give registration to these associations that, from what we've learned, apply since 2018. So it's not even a matter of today. And if we get to know the history of Konwa, how they started with the issue of appointment of vice chancellor, and all of that, you know that it has practically nothing to do with the ongoing ASU strike. And then NAMDA, that they are saying, look, they want to earn the same way medical doctors, members of the Nigerian Medical Association are earning. They want to earn the same salaries and all of that. Then you will understand, the situation and the circumstances. But it will take a long while to explain all of this to people to understand that it's not an ASU issue the way it's being put. Federal government divides ASU, and all of ASU itself was part of a NUT, broke away from somewhere, so what it is, it is. But we will forge forward with it, as it were. And on the issue of the president's allegation of corruption, as it were, some reports are very clear. He mentioned the issue of sex for marks, marks for grade, cash for grades, and all of that. And those are things you cannot take away. I recall, I think there was an attempt to even legislate about it in the National Assembly, and all of that. But I would have, one of the demands of ASU is the release of the government's white paper on visitation panels. And if the president feels strongly that there is corruption in a tertiary institution or in the education sector, I will urge him, as a matter of urgency, to release the white paper on that.
Who set up the visitation panel?
It's statutory.
It's statutory. Every 5 years.
When was it set up?
It's statutory. That is one of the arguments ASU is having, that government has refused to release the white paper of certain visitation panels.
When did the visitation panel carry out its visit?
No, as the visitor to the university, the president is the visitor to all federal universities, and every 5 years, as stipulated by the law, he should send a visitation panel to undertake and check and examine the financial, how they've used funds they're giving to them and what needs they have.
So it's an internal accountability process.
So
is the outcome of that report, when submitted to the president, and if there is any infraction or perceived violation, he passes those reports to anti-corruption agencies, and that is the step the president should take.
He should take indeed moving forward. So those are the fronts one should be looking at. But again, I think all of what Ngige did yesterday, if I were there, I wouldn't have done it at this time, took the shine off what the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Femi Gbajabiamila, and the leadership of the House did with a visit to the President. They told us they were going to visit the President when he comes back from Onga, and they've done that.
Yes,
today. And the President has given them his word that by Thursday, they will go back for another meeting with the President, and he will tell them his final decision, on some of the recommendations or all the recommendations they've pushed forward. Some of us believe strongly that this would be an intervention that will help resolve this ASU strike, and I hope that the president will not listen at this point, because my fear is, after the report has been given to him, he possibly want to listen to what the labor minister will say, or what the education minister will say, or what the pro-chancellors and all of that will say. He should listen to the voice from within him. He should listen to his conscience and do what is right because almost everybody was brought to the table. The House of Reps brought everybody to the table. They discussed these things. Even the Minister of Education and all of that. Everybody, they were there. These issues were brought. They agree. I want to believe that they agreed on these recommendations, and it should be a pathway to resolve it. So we look forward to Thursday, what eventually will be the outcome of that. But we'll speak to the conscience of the president. Enough is enough of this. Whatever it is, we should also shift grounds the same way we have appealed to ASU. And from the discussions at the National Assembly, they're also saying if IPs will include their peculiarities, they're willing to shift. So let everybody shift ground. Let's reopen the schools and get back. And those talking about ASU monopoly, we have over 200 private universities. Those days that when ASU goes on strike, everybody, a whole place is shut down. It's no longer that way. Even federal universities, I can tell you federal universities, some of them are in oppression because they are not members of ASU. The federal university in Lokoja, the federal university in Wukari and all of them, they're not part of this, the strike.
Even the Delta State University, Anambra State University, River State University, they are not part of ASU.
So it's lesson for everybody. Yes. Lesson for ASU that there's an extent you can push. Yes. You risk a reaction. And that reaction has come.
But that's why we argue with you that
the government always argue. Those people went to school.
Yes.
So
the government actually asked them to create a platform that can substitute for IBPIS. And the same government is coming to say that it's not working.
We've moved past that stage.
What I expect, as Teve has said, the president should use his conscience as a father. Parents are suffering. Use his conscience as the leader of this country. Look at the recommendation of the House of Representatives, Speaker. The House of Rep is our representative, and we have submitted a recommendation.
That's a window to resolve this beyond all the...
So even the two unions, even at the end of the day, the two unions might not stand well, because maybe the president will say, okay,
if we have agreed on good reason,
come back on good principle, in one house.
They will stand. Some of our listeners on our mail have highlighted the fact that there were such moves happen in the past, and many of them collapsed. So it's just like the parable of the sower. If you sow a seed on a rock, it will gradually grow, but it will wither away. If you grow it on a sand without manure and all that, it's just a matter of time. So the genuinity or the real intention will be tested with time. With time, we shall see. And again, on the issue of corruption within the system, yes, like we said, we know it exists. And it is a challenge on ASU, on Konwa, on the other one, get used to the name, that we accuse ASU of not doing enough. Even though a lot of people have sympathy for government's underfunding and neglect of our university system. Consistent underfunding and neglect of the university system. ASU should do more in terms of sex for grade. It's almost a norm now in Nigerian universities. It's almost a norm. So a society, a union, a group that does not indeed try to cleanse itself while pointing accusing fingers at others. If you're pointing one, for our pointing at you. So it's a reminder. The president's allegation is a reminder to ASU to clean his house in order, put his house in order, and do more. Sex for grade, money for grade, so many happening there. They look the other way, pretending that all is well, while accusing the federal government. All is not well.
They were claiming that they don't award contracts. So why would the president be accuse them of corruption? And that they've submitted, several vice chancellors have been inducted.
So is the Senate,
and no action.
The vice chancellor sits on top of the Senate.
Good. Yes. So what we expect is that don't always see the fault in government. You as lecturers, what have you done to cleanse yourself? As Amicha are saying. So we need moral upbringing. We need they need to be morally upright.
Yeah, they need to stand on a good, strong moral position to argue their case.
And Amicha has always talked about autonomy of the universities. I think after this scenario, they should also, apart from the education tax, the TED fund and all of that, they should also think of how the universities themselves.
They said they've been removed from
alternative funding.
They said they've been removed from the board of TED funds, so they don't monitor the interventions done by TED funds.
We're talking about how the universities themselves.
When we come back from the break, your mail, stay with us.